Turn up, let's go.
What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today I'm going to be reacting to Film Theory: The Secret to Fusing a Cat and Dog, Nickelodeon Cat Dog, by the film theorist. Now, if you don't know what Cat Dog is, it's a Nickelodeon show where it's like a dog/cat like hybrid where one end's a cat, one end's a dog. I like it, but it also is really kind of messed up. And I guess this is going to be delving into how is it possible, or how is it possible to fuse them together. And I think this will be very interesting, to say the least, because we're probably going to get into some very weird stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Germans from World War II are involved, because I know that they were up to some weird stuff. Alright, so I thought I should probably clarify what I meant. Basically, I thought it was the Germans in like World War II were doing experiments on trying to revive like dead animals and stuff like that. But then right now, as I'm editing, I'm trying to find like a resource to confirm that's what I heard or I saw, and I can't find anything of it. So either it's been wiped from the internet, or it wasn't the Germans. It might have been like the Russians or someone else. Or maybe I'm just going crazy. I don't know. Anyway, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist. Without any further ado, let's begin.
When I decided to do an episode on the classic Nicktoon Cat Dog, one question stood out as the hardest one to answer. Should I be using dog memes or cat memes? Pun dog or hover cat?
I guess you could use both, actually.
Dancing dog vine or dancing cat vine? How can
Aww.
you choose? You know what? I am heckin' bamboozled. Play me off, keyboard cat.
Rest in peace, keyboard cat. Okay, before we continue on, you could use both memes because it's a cat dog, so you can use both and you'll be fine. You don't have to specifically use one over the other, right?
Oh, internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that makes videos out of all those weird thoughts that keep you up at night. Like this one. You know how Keyboard Cat is a cat that plays the piano? Well, what would happen if you made a piano that was made out of cats? Sounds ridiculous? Well, don't let humanity hear you talking like that, because wonder no longer, internet, it already exists. It's called the Katzenclavier. It was imagined, though never actually made, by a German scholar back
What'd I tell you about the Germans?
in 1650. 1650! That's right, loyal theorists. Cat pianos predate electricity. I'm glad that scholars were working on the questions that truly mattered back then. But anyway, we're here to talk today about a...
Yeah, people really don't change, right? So nowadays we have people thinking of all these weird things. Way back then, people would be thinking the exact same. So I can only wonder, you know, like 1,000 years ago or something, or 2 or 3 or 4,000 years ago, what was going through people's heads? I don't know, it's an interesting thought.
Big part of my childhood that I'm pretty shocked I haven't actually done an episode on yet. Nicktoons! Gather round the fire, youngins, because old Dad Pat is here to tell you of a time before cell phones and the internet, when the greatest joy of the weekend was waking up on a Saturday morning, eating half your body weight in Cap'n Crunch, with Crunch Berries, thank you very much, and turning on Nickelodeon for a full slate of Nicktoons hosted by a popsicle stick with googly eyes. Forget your fancy YouTube flash animators, all you Jadens and Rebeccas and Domixes.
What about the odd ones out?
Sigh. We had ourselves a stick. His name was Stick Stickly, and we loved him. He had a P.O. box that rhymed with his name. Stick Stickly, P.O. Box 963. New York City, New York State, 10108. He taught me that I could pick a rose, pick my nose, and oh yeah, I could also pick Nickelodeon's shows. Yeah, they burned those rhymes into your head as a kid back then. I am indoctrinated! Anyway, I loved the Nicktoons, and I related to all...
I hope Matt does some more Nicktoons related theorist videos, because, you know, like Berlizzi has done tons of videos on Nicktoons. I think this is a new area for Matt to delve into.
The characters in them. I lived in a dream world and imagined myself as a superhero like Doug, though my superhero didn't wear underwear on his head because, you know, that's a little showy. But one of the Nicktoons that always fascinated me the most, at least on a theorist sort of level, was Cat Dog. The show, if you haven't seen it, is pretty straightforward. You've got yourself an animal with a cat's head on one side and a dog's head on the other side and a long shared body in between, like a big wobbly hot dog. Cat is a refined intellectual, and Dog is, well, he's a doggo.
Hey, a cat dog! Never mind.
And it got me wondering all these years later, is a cat...
Yeah, it's actually a brilliant idea for a show. Oh, it's like having, you know those twins who get born together where they're like conjoined or whatever? It's like that, where you have two different personalities and they have to like coexist.
Cat dog creature possible. Now, maybe I'm crazy for thinking this. I mean, it is a kid's cartoon for crying out loud. But think about it this way. Cat Dog premiered back in 1998. And since then, we've had a few massive scientific breakthroughs. From hybrid cars to the Human Genome Project to discovering water on Mars. I mean, just the other day, I learned from a friend that you can clone your dog for like $20,000. And if that sounds like a lot, remember, you are literally creating a genetic duplicate of a living creature with scientific
In friggin' 20 years, you could probably do that to your kid.
technology that was only perfected in 1995. I wonder if I can clone Skip. That would be weird YouTuber merch. You could have a Skip of your very own. Save that one for the holiday collection. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing stopping Cat Dog from becoming a reality is the limitation of our own imagination. So today, we're gonna play a little Dr. Frankenstein to see just what it would take to make a cat dog. It would literally be the perfect pet. You got man's best friend crossed with man's most ambivalent friend.
I think it's actually possible. I think it's actually possible to do this. Just because, you know, we have conjoined twins that can survive for a long time. Now, they are born that way at birth, but I know they can be separated to be, you know, in their individual person or whatever, right? So why can't you do the opposite, where you can conjoin people together? I guess their blood types would have to be the same. I mean, it's obviously possible. Whether it's moral or not, that's a whole other story.
Mix the two together and you get like man's most pleasant next door neighbor. I don't know. Now this episode is all about the scientific possibility of creating a cat dog, but I realize that that starts us off with a pretty big assumption that a cat dog doesn't already exist. Do a quick Google search and you'll find that, yeah, scientists have apparently successfully already bred a
Oh, that is actually disturbing. Oh, okay, we've gone too far. We've gone too far.
cat dog? Well, that was fast. Good show, everybody. See you next week. But hey, of course, then you notice that the scholarly site you're getting this information from is called catster.com. You can't find any record online of the scientist.
Oh, okay, it was a joke, or it was a Photoshop. Okay, good. Good, because that's like, that was a disturbing image. That's a disturbing image.
It's mentioned in their news article, quote unquote, and you realize that the picture of the cat-dog hybrid looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Fake news is everywhere these days. But there is something here worth mentioning, which is that rumors of cat dogs go way back long before janky blog sites. A report in the French publication Le Mercure Galant puts the earliest recorded instance of cat-dog hybridization in 1698.
What?
Man, people are weird, and it seems people have always been weird. Good thinking, a toy and not real, and the only way you're hearing me is from in your head.
There are well-publicized incidents from the 1930s and 1970s in which people claim to have crossbred or discovered animals that were part cat and part dog. Now, of course, all of these were eventually shot down as hoaxes made by people looking to make a quick buck. Speaking of people who lie to you to steal your money, it's worth mentioning P.T. Barnum here. This is a guy who got famous for doing things like sewing a salmon tail to a monkey skeleton to claim that he had—
Oh, this is the dude? This is the dude who did this? I've seen that stupid thing before. It's freaking creepy.
Found himself a mermaid. Clickbait is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, all throughout history. Anyway, my point is that the world's been begging for cat dogs for centuries. There's clearly a market for it, so it's my turn to step up to the plate and give the people what they want. The Cuppy. It's a cross between kitten puppy. Actually, it sounds more like a cross between kittens and guppies. The Kippy! The most logical way to create a cat dog, it would seem, would be by mating a cat with a dog, thereby creating a hybrid creature that contains—
The demonetized symbol pops up. Okay, that's funny. That's funny. But you can't do this because the genetics, they don't mix together because of the species.
Traits of both animals. After all, that's how we get animals like mules, ligers, and wolpins, which are combo whale dolphins. And yeah, all three of those things are real. I mean, it's not like you were questioning that mules were real, but ligers and wolpins, yeah, I'm like, whoa, those are real, and yes, they are. That's one that they don't teach you in kin—
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I actually heard about these a long time ago. As far as cats breeding with dogs or whatever, I don't think that's genetically possible because they aren't from the same, like, family, I guess. And when I was thinking of originally the cat-dog hybrid remix, I was thinking of legit, like, some Frankenstein stuff, where could you take an already living cat and dog and, you know, combine them together? Could you do that? That's what I was thinking originally. But I guess Matt's going with the old natural route.
Your garden. V is for vulture. W is for what the heck is that freak of nature? Just when you thought you knew the animal kingdom, am I right? A big part of the reason these crossbreeds exist is that the animal parents are genetically similar enough to make a viable offspring.
Yeah, but I don't think cats and dogs are.
Which we can demonstrate using a little bit of taxonomy. Now, you may remember that science classifies animals in a variety of different categories, which are kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, from least specific to most specific. So consider that to make a mule, you need a donkey and a horse, which belong to the same kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, and genus. Only their species is different. Cats and dogs, on the other hand, are as different as, well, cats and dogs. They're not nearly as similar biologically, considering they only share kingdom, phylum, class, and order. Further adding to the complications is that cats and dogs have a different number of chromosomes.
Charmx knows about having less chromosomes.
But now let's look at our hypothetical cat-dog hybrid. Here we're not talking about a 2-chromosome difference, we're talking about a 40-chromosome difference. Cats have 38 chromosomes and dogs have 78. What exactly would happen to this 58-chromosomed hybrid?
I'm gonna be cutting through some of this here, but basically, Matt's got into the fact that, you know, for like crossbreeding and whatnot, their chromosome levels are relatively similar. But with cats and dogs, they're so dramatically different that it's really unlikely.
Purely theoretical, but when you consider that damage to even a single chromosome in human DNA tends to create a lot of health problems, it's unlikely that a cat dog created this way would have any chance of creating a viable creature, let alone surviving being born.
You have to do it the way I was thinking of, Matt, where you would take two ones that are living and, like, make them go together.
Alright, so even though we can't create a cat dog the old-fashioned way, that doesn't necessarily mean
the old-fashioned way.
We're sunk yet. A number of the show's fans note that Cat Dog's hometown, Nearburg, is a bit of a desolate, barren wasteland with no people and only talking animals. They have therefore theorized that it may be a sort of post-apocalyptic, radioactive wasteland. If so, maybe Cat Dog is a mutant, and then all we need to do to create our own is find ourselves a leaky nuclear reactor. History tells us that, yeah, high levels of radiation tends to mess with plants and animals in the surrounding area. In the aftermath of the Chernobyl, local wildlife experienced a number of different mutations. Mutations that I'm about to show you and that, if you don't want to see, now...
Oh, now I'm interested. Now I'm interested. I want to see what kind of mutations were created. Because I know, like, radiation and that kind of stuff, it can really mess up genetics. Especially if you look at, like, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The residents around there who actually survived, I believe a large portion of them got cancer and stuff. And the newborn babies had, like, extra limbs and a bunch of stuff because of the radiation messing with people. So I can only imagine what happened to animals.
Now might be a good time to take a 15-second vacation down in the comments. Say hi to everyone else down there who doesn't want to use eye bleach today. Make yourselves a new friend. Everyone scrolled down who
now you got me hyped, Matt. You got me hyped.
wanted to scroll down?
You're gonna show me.
So in addition to animals that were smaller, thinner, or misshapen in the wake of this disaster, you also got yourself some really crazy results. In particular, animals that had extra body parts, like this lamb with 8 legs.
Oh!
Or on brand with Cat Dog, this donkey with 2 heads. Genetics.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this kind of stuff before. And these animals with 2 heads. This stuff's actually really interesting for me. It's freaking weird.
Radiation, man, it gets weird. It would seem like we have proof that radiation can create a 2-headed animal like Cat Dog, right? Well, no again. And to understand why, we have to get into the science of how these mutations work. You see, high levels of radiation tend to damage cellular DNA. This isn't necessarily a problem because DNA has mechanisms to repair itself, but those repairs aren't always exactly right. It's like taking a shirt to the dry cleaners to sew a button back on.
Charmx cannot relate with this analogy, because he wears the same shirts every day.
Most of the time, they sew the button back on perfectly, which would be a metaphor for DNA successfully repairing itself. Sometimes they sew the button on, but it's slightly too high or slightly too low, which would be an imperfect but still functional repair. And then sometimes, instead of sewing the button back on the shirt, they light the shirt on fire and cover it in thumbtacks. And that's how you end up with an 8-legged spider sheep. You might get the doubling of certain genes that create legs or even heads, but you wouldn't get an organism.
Yeah, you wouldn't get, like, a dog from it.
With a separate head far away from the first head. Besides, all of the mutations that you're gonna see affect a single organism, and to create an animal like Cat Dog...
Yeah, it wouldn't, like, give you a dog and a cat together. It would give you a cat with 2 heads or a dog with 2 heads, it wouldn't give you, you know, 2 different species together. I think the only way you can do the cat dog is if you legit, as I said before, you gotta take 2 of them and you gotta merge them together.
You're somehow gonna have to splice the cat DNA with the dog DNA, which radiation and subsequent mutations simply can't do on their own. So it's strike 2 for our mad science experiment, which leads us to our third and most desperate option, and it's a dark one.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is what I was saying right from the beginning.
So buckle up. Let's say you're a mad scientist who just can't live in a world without cat dogs, and knowing that you can't interbreed cats and dogs or use radiation to create a mutant cat dog, you decide to take things into your own hands, human centipede style, by surgically creating a cat dog. If you were
This is what I was saying right from the beginning. Now we're gonna get into some weird stuff.
Somehow able to perform the surgery so well that you could merge the 2 spines and internal organs such that the surgery itself was a structural success, would this cat dog be able to live? Well, you know how when someone needs an organ transplant,
yeah, if someone needs an organ transplant, normally, the person who receives the new organ or whatever, like their body will like try to fight off the new organ. So then they have to take pills and whatever to stop that from happening. I don't know, it's a mess. So if it would happen with animals, I don't know. Who's telling what could happen? Who's telling what could happen?
We have to do tests to make sure that the possible donor is a match. This matching system has to do with similarities in the blood and tissues between the donor and the recipient. The more differences there are in those tissues, the more likely the body's immune system is going to be attacking it as though it was bacteria or a virus in order to kill it. And cats and dogs, like I've mentioned, are genetically different, so it makes sense that they would reject each other, but that's not the case.
Man, this episode is a messed up one. Just think of what we are talking about. Connecting a dog and a cat together just because of a TV show.
Cats that have received a single blood transfusion from a dog usually live. Interestingly enough, cats that receive multiple transfusions tend to reject the blood the second time, which suggests that after an initial transfusion, the cat's body just recognizes it as different from its own blood. It's a weird little phenomenon. But yeah, on the cat side, it is perfectly viable. Dogs, on the other hand, have a
Oh, look at that. That's cute. Oh, that's adorable.
very difficult time receiving organ donations at all, cats or otherwise, because the canine immune system tends to attack any tissues that aren't from direct relatives. The cat's immune system would potentially allow it to happen. It's the dog that would make this impossible surgery even more impossible. And that leaves us with, no crossbreeding, no nuclear fallout, not even mad science is gonna create a cat dog. At the end of the day,
I guess, yeah, I guess can't create cat dog. My dreams have been ruined and crushed.
we're just stuck with the glory that is doggos and floofs. So I ask again, what's that leave us with? The cartoon, I guess.
So yeah, sad news. We can't make a cat dog in real life. But maybe that's for the best. Maybe that's for the best. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I hope Matt does like a lot more, I hope Matt does a lot more, like, in, theories on like Nickelodeon type videos, kind of like how, you know how Berleezy has a whole bunch. I think Matt Pat should delve into different theories around Nickelodeon shows. I think that'd be awesome. But anyway, if you guys like this, give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you're new, subscribe and join the family. Also, make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist, and I'll see you guys next time. Boop.